Welcome to all of the newly admitted students and Mabruk on your recent admission. My name is Monica Ibrahim. I'm the Education USA Advisor for Syrian students. I offer virtual guidance and counseling to Syrian students who are interested in studying in the USA. Thank you for joining our pre-departure orientation session. Today, I am joined by a panel of 6 Syrian students who are currently studying in the US. They will be sharing their expert tips and advice on how to prepare for your time in the United States. We will discuss topics such as what to pack, visa information, culture shock, academic expectations, and adjusting to the USA. We have a lot to discuss, but before we begin, let's do a quick round of introductions.
Hey all, my name is Raja Ghawi and I'm from Homs. I'm going to start my 3rd year at Harvard next fall. I'm studying biomedical engineering and applied mathematics.
Marhaba everyone, this is Ruwan from Damascus. I'm a graduate student and I'm currently enrolled in MA program called Global Development and Peace in the University of Bridgeport in Connecticut.
Hello, my name is Omar. I'm a PhD student in Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of Oklahoma, Tulsa.
My name is Zaina and I'm currently studying Information Technology and Management at Illinois Institute of Technology, and I am an undergrad and this is my 3rd year.
Hello, my name is Rais Safi from Damascus. I'll begin my 2nd year in the fall at the University of Evansville, and I'm a civil engineering major.
Hello, my name is Senna. I'm from Hama. I'm a 3rd year student in business major, and I study at Illinois Institute of Technology.
Okay, now let's talk about getting ready to come to the US. Roja, can you tell us some suggestions? What should students bring with them? Please share some tips on what they should pack.
So first of all, clothes. Weather in the US varies a lot from state to state. Depending on where your school is, you might want to pack differently. If you're going to a school in the Northeast or in one of the areas where the weather is really cold, you might want to wait a bit and just get your clothes in the US. If you're going to a school in a state that's really hot, like in the South or on the West Coast, you might as well just bring your clothes with you. When it comes to notebooks and school supplies, don't worry about that at all. Just buy everything when you get to the US. Souvenirs, a family picture, a small gift from grandma, or just something that reminds you of your friends and family back home is definitely something you want to bring with you. When it comes to mobile phones, US mobile phone companies work in the exact opposite way to those in Syria. Here, you buy the phone line and get the device for a huge discount. In Syria, on the other hand, you buy the phone and get the SIM card for next to nothing. Even though you can still get prepaid cards in the US, just a SIM card that you can install into your own device, you might want to consider getting a contract, which is both a line and a phone for cheaper, if your current device is old and you don't want to use it anymore.
Omar, what important documents should students bring on their carry-on luggage?
Your carry-on luggage must include the following important documents. First of all, passport and visa, your I-20 form, and your university acceptance letter. You should always try to get hold of contact information. You should have the name and phone number of your international student advisor on campus in case you need to call him or her upon arrival in the United States. You should also have an address of initial residence in the US, campus dorm for example. You may need to provide this information during security check when connecting flights in a European airport. You should always have your medical records and prescriptions if you can obtain them. Your academic transcripts as well. You should bring your official transcripts, outlines, or descriptions of courses you have taken.
Thanks, Omar. Zaina, any other tips to share with us?
Yeah, just make sure that you have all your official papers translated. It would be wise to have the mentioned addresses and contact information printed on a sheet of paper. That way you'll find them easily when asked for them. Make sure you hand carry all of these documents.
So you're permitted to enter the US 30 days prior to the start of your program, or 30 days prior to the date listed on your I-20 form, but you're not permitted to come to the US earlier than that. A visa allows a foreign citizen coming from abroad to travel to the United States port of entry and request permission to enter the US. You should be aware that a visa does not guarantee entry into the United States. The Department of Homeland Security, US Customs and Border Protection, or CBP officials have authority to permit or deny admission to the United States. If you are allowed to enter the US, the CBP official will determine the length of your visit. You will go through the port of entry as soon as you get to the USA. The CBP officer will take your biometric fingerprints and a photograph. The officer will then stamp your passport to indicate the type of admission and length of time that you are permitted to stay inside the USA. Generally, on the F1 visa, you will be permitted to stay in the USA for the duration of your studies. The date of departure that will be stamped on your passport when you enter can be different from the validity period of your visa. Your I-94 travel arrival document will now be automatically created electronically. This will document your authorized stay and is the official record of your permission to be in the US. If you need a paper copy of your I-94 arrival and departure record in the future, you can access it online at the link in the resources section that will be up on the screen at the end of this presentation. As a result of the recent Boston attacks, CBP officials will now need to verify student visa status for all students entering the US on an F1 or J1 visa. Often, this may require students to go through secondary inspection, where students are asked to go to another immigration desk and waiting room. Do not be alarmed if this happens. They will just need to check the CVIS system to make sure that you are in fact enrolled in the university. However, this may take a long time, up to several hours. As a result, if you need to catch a connecting flight, please make sure that you allow plenty of time for the inspection process in order to make sure that you can catch your flight. After going through inspection, you will then pick up your luggage from the baggage carousel and take your bags to customs and declaration. Finally, you will proceed through one final checkpoint and then either take another connecting flight or depart from the airport. Most likely, your student visa will be valid for 2 years. If you will be studying for more than 2 years, then it could expire in the middle of your program. Omar, can you tell us a bit more about this? What should students do in this case?
If your visa expires in the middle of the program, then that would be perfectly okay, since the visa is used only for entry at US borders. You can stay and continue your study in a legal status even if your visa is expired. The problem is, if you want to leave the US to visit your parents, for example, after your visa expiration, you will have to apply for a new F1 visa at a US embassy outside the US. Here's a quick example. You have an F1 visa valid for 2 years, and during these 2 years, you can leave and re-enter the US as you wish. During the 3rd year of study, where your visa will be expired, you want to go to Lebanon, let's say, to see your parents. You can leave the US normally, but you will have to apply for a new F1 visa at the US Embassy in Beirut in order to return and continue your study.
And as soon as students would arrive on campus, what should they do, Omar?
As soon as you arrive, you should go register with the International Student Office and get your I-20 signed. The International Student Service Office, or ISSO, will have clear steps that will help you get things done once you're on campus. They will help you obtain your student ID, any needed access cards, health insurance instructions, and they may even point you to the right place to look for housing. All students are required to purchase health insurance. The ISSO is also where you should go for any legal or visa questions. Every university has a designated school official, DSO. The role of this DSO is to make sure that you don't violate the terms of your visa. In addition, the International Student Office is where you should go to obtain a travel signature, that is a signature on your I-20 form that will allow you to re-enter the country if you travel abroad. New students will find it beneficial to open a bank account soon after they arrive to avoid carrying large amounts of cash, and for ease of payments wherever they go. Usually, banks require to see the I-20 form and 2 forms of ID. Passport and student ID will do the job. It's a very good idea to get to know the people in the International Student Office, as they will be an extremely valuable resource and can help you a great deal.
Thank you, Omar. One of the wonderful things about universities in the USA is the amount of on-campus support that is available to students. When you first arrive on campus, there will be orientation days for new students. Ruan, can you tell us a bit more about orientation? What are these orientation days about, and what can students expect from them?
Orientation days are ice-breaking days. It helps you overcome the feeling that you are alone and that you know no one. These activities are designed to let the new student get adjusted with a new atmosphere, place, and the new faces. So try not to miss any of these activities, especially that it will give you a chance to mingle and get to know new people who are exploring the same new things as you are. So you won't feel weird or different from others. Personally, those days were very important for me as they helped me a lot in building my first social network with international and American students. And I never had friends who weren't Syrian before, so it's worth it to attend.
Great. And in addition to the International Student Office, what other types of on-campus resources are available for international student support, Zaina?
First is the library. It is a great resource that Syrian students should take advantage of because this is one of the things that we can't find in Syrian universities. All students have access to the books in the library and they can borrow them for a couple days or they can access them online. Students can use it for both research and educational purposes. Second is the intensive English courses. For students who need help in English, there are always intensive English courses that aim to help students improve their listening, speaking, writing, and grammar skills. These courses can help you as a Syrian student if you are facing some problems with the language. Also, the Career Management Center. This can be the key to your career. This center helps you find internships, co-ops, full-time and part-time jobs through career fairs that are held each semester on campus to help students find jobs. They also help you improve your resume to meet the expectations of the professional world, and they will work on your CPT or OPT application. The Academic Center, it is a really helpful resource for international students. As a new student, you might have some problems adjusting to the new language system, curriculum, etc. Through this center, you can find tutors that can help you in any course that you are having trouble with. It also offers exam reviews and group study. This will be your best friend for the first couple semesters. Also, you have the Writing Center. This center is aimed to help students with their writing assignments and papers. As a Syrian student, I was not used to the American way of writing papers, and I think this center helped me get it right. I strongly advise each Syrian student to go there because I think that as an undergraduate, you will have to take some classes that will require writing assignments. They can help you write your paper in a well-structured way rather than something that is all over the place. Also, a very important center is the health center. All international students are required to either take the vaccines or show proof that they have already taken them. From my experience, eventually you will have to take them and try to do that as soon as you can because otherwise you will have holds on your account that can prevent you from registering to courses and some other things. Since you are covered by insurance, it will be free. Just make sure to take them in the health center because you might have to pay if you take them off campus. Also, the health center addresses minor medical needs, and there are always doctors ready to examine students and provide them with medication. For major medical needs, students might have to go off campus. Finally, we have the psychological center. I think that we, the Syrians, are going through a lot, and sometimes we just can't take it anymore. Getting psychological help can be a great relief, and it helps get rid of the stress and tension. I really hope that Syrians go to this center because what we are going through is more than any person can handle.
Thanks, Zaina. The Psychological Center is also free and is completely confidential. So you can be sure that whatever you share with the psychological counselor will remain private. I agree that seeking help is extremely important and it is not something to be ashamed or embarrassed about. Raja, can you tell us what types of clubs and organizations students can become involved with?
There's practically an Arab student organization on every campus in the US. If not, you can probably start one. US college campuses are usually very open to cultural clubs and organizations, and it is always fun to be around the Arabs. Besides that, you can almost join any club or organization your school has to offer. Try things out. Don't be afraid to join a sports club if you want to. Have fun. That's what these clubs are all about.
And if you are interested in international relations and the global affairs, try to look for a club that provides a module UN. It's called MUN Club. It's a gathering of different students who engage with global issues. Then they go to the UN for like a week or so to join a context where they simulate solutions and negotiations for issues that are happening currently by presenting countries from all around the world. Just look up MUN and it's fun.
I think clubs and organizations are a great way to meet new people that you share common interest with. There are a lot of clubs that are for fun and entertainment. Find them and join them. First, they will be a way to meet people from outside your field, and second, these clubs always have many free events that you might be interested in. Since we were 26 Syrians, we started a Syrian club, and I think that all Syrians should be encouraged to do the same because it's a good way to introduce other people to our culture.
Students have the chance to get involved in any of their interests and also have the chance to explore new ones. For example, you can join a fraternity, which is basically a brotherhood, where you meet a group of people and get really close to. You can also join intramural sport teams and play in the tournaments that the university organizes. If there's something that you would like to do on campus and cannot find a club that has it, remember that you can have your own club.
While you're on an F1 visa, international students are permitted to work on campus. Roger, can you tell us a bit about what kinds of on-campus jobs might be available?
Depending on your school, available jobs might vary from desk or administrative jobs, like working for a certain office at the library, or to more hands-on jobs, like mowing the lawns or working at the cafeteria. Just make sure you look into all of your options before you commit to a job. You really don't want to get stuck in a job you don't like doing.
Usually international students work in the Office of International Admissions because of their experience in that field. I indeed encourage every single one of you to find a job on campus, regardless if it was in the international office or not, because it will get you closer to important people that you might need in college, regardless of the small amount of money that you make out of it.
Great. Now let's talk a bit about culture shock and differences in culture. What surprised you the most when you first got to the US?
The thing that surprised us was how green the Northeast is, that it actually rains in the summer here, pretty frequently actually, and how some people here thought that Syria was an Eastern European country.
For me, my biggest shock was the way that professors deal with students. They are really nice, and if you have any problem, you can address the professor with it. Also, I was surprised that I had to wear 2 pants, 3 shirts, and a jacket to stay warm, or maybe not to freeze. Chicago was a very cold city, especially for Syrians who were used to the nice weather. Also, I think being on time was a big shock too. Like 6 o'clock doesn't mean 7, so if you have an appointment at 6, be there at 5:45 because being early is better than being late.
Okay, what are some cultural differences between the USA and Syria?
East Coast weather is unpredictable one, so be ready. And it's June already, and spring is not here yet in New London, Connecticut. Not too much culture shocks, I would say. If you are coming with a mindset to be open to other cultures and accept and respect the others, I would say it's a new experience and you should enjoy it.
There's a little point that I would like to highlight is that we Arabs in general consider ourselves to be warm-hearted people that take helping others in our societies as a must. Sometimes we feel that this quality is unique to us, but from what I saw during the time of the tornado that hit the state of Oklahoma late May, I can conclude that Americans are no different than us, and they are even much more organized. The second day that the tornado hit the Moore area near Oklahoma City, volunteer groups mushroomed around the university campus, offering all kinds of help to those strayed out of their homes. The university dedicated its dorms to shelter people that no longer have one. All kinds of supplies were offered, from food to children's toys. A recurring word that I keep hearing everywhere is, it's time to give back to the community.
Thanks, everybody. Ruan, please share some tips with the panel on how to deal with culture shock. What can a Syrian student do in order to adjust more quickly?
I would say to keep all types of communication open. You can ask questions politely and try to understand more the differences and respect the traditions, and try to create your own zone in a way that accepts different cultures. Don't let differences put you in distance from others. You are here to learn not only in the university but from the people around you. To adjust quickly, you need to keep communications and dialogue always open with all your surroundings.
Roger, what's the best way for Syrian students to get in touch with family back home?
Well, Google Voice, Viber, WhatsApp, and Skype are the cheapest and most efficient ways to call back home. Google Voice lets you call landlines and cell phones in Syria directly. It's also pretty affordable.
As a Syrian student, it must be extremely hard to be in the USA while at the same time watching the horrific news about Syria back home. I know many of you still have close friends and family in Syria. How do you deal with that?
Whether you are a pro-opposition or neutral regarding what's happening in Syria, I advise you to try not to engage emotionally with what is happening in Syria and let the news drive you away from the goal that you are here for. Currently, the conflict in Syria is with the hands of the international community, and our role as Syrian youth is to spread awareness regarding humanitarian crisis and push towards stopping the bloodshed. So don't let your fears or your opinion take control on your rational decisions. No matter what is your opinion, don't use social media like Facebook and Twitter to comment or attack others, because you still have families, friends back at home, and the revenge is taking place from both sides. I advise you that when communication get lost from Syria because of the internet cut out in Syria, just don't panic. Wait like a day or two and then try to contact your family. Create your own friends network in USA who can spend time with them when you feel sad or down. Friends can share some of our sorrows even if we know them for a short time only. Or you can visit one of the psychological center at your university, as Zainaz mentioned.
Many Americans may have never met a Syrian person and have only heard about Syria on the news. How do you deal with this, and how do you share your experiences and culture with Americans?
As Syrian, and concerning what's happening in Syria, I advise you to consider yourself as an ambassador for our country. Be your good self, and that way you can dispel some of the stereotypes that people might have about you as a Syrian. Don't be offended or surprised if someone who you are talking with does not know where is Syria geographically located on the map, or if they ask you if you wear a veil back at home, but you take it off in the United States if you are not a covered lady. Some Americans may think if you are an Arab, then you believe in jihad, which is most likely total wrong. Don't get engaged in discussion if you don't have solid evidence to what you are presenting. Some Americans don't know Syria, but for sure they know you. So you are the reflection of the true Syrians. And we are not perfect, so be open to discuss the pros and cons to being Syrians and how we can improve the situation that we are facing right now.
Faith, do you want to add to that?
Sure. I've been asked if Syria was Switzerland a couple of times. I was also asked if it was located in Europe. Some people feel offended when this happened, and this is totally understandable. However, I personally think that we should take it in a smooth way and calmly explain to them where Syria is and what's happening there at the moment. The one thing that you should always remember is the fact that you're representing your whole country. Any word you say or any act you take is counted. Make them one day say, I had a Syrian friend and he or she is awesome, because seriously, we are awesome.
Okay, thanks guys. Let's move on to the American classroom and academics. Zaid, can you tell us how is the American classroom different from a Syrian classroom?
Classes in the US vary in sizes and capacities. Some classes have only 20 students or less. Others might have up to 100. Teachers are very respected in the US, and if any student is disrupting the class, they can easily ask him to leave and even give him an F for the class. Every class has a syllabus that the students get at the beginning of the year. This syllabus indicates the rules of the class. Some of these rules might be very strict. For example, not being able to use your phone during the class time. You're expected to follow the rules and the syllabus word by word, and you will lose a lot of points, which actually happened to me, if you do not. Most of the students are expected to take notes in the class. A lot of the exam questions come from the notes that the professor gives in the classroom, not from the textbook. If the student was caught cheating or using his cell phone during any test, he either get an F for the exam or an F for the class. He might also get expelled from the school for cheating.
Salem, anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, the class in the US is so much different than the ones in Syria. In Syria, I feel like there is no connection between the professors and the students. Maybe because there are a lot of students in the same classroom, and after each lecture, most of the students have to go to the bookstore to buy the lecture that the professor was talking about. In the US, There is also a big university that could hold up to 800 students in one classroom. However, the small universities generally have small classes with limited number of students, which allow the professor to get to know each of the students by name. And I think that's very important because that makes students more comfortable to ask about anything they want. And one of the most important tools that all of the professors use, which is accessible to every student, is the Blackboard, which is an online account each student has. And this Blackboard professor used to post the slide that ones they used during the lecture, the links, homeworks, and the grades.
As a graduate student, you may have a very close relationship with your advisor since you will be working very closely with him or her.
And what are the academic standards and expectations?
Well, one thing you really want to stay away from is plagiarism, which is simply using other people's work or ideas and claiming them to be your own. It's strictly monitored, and it's a very bad idea to copy from any source without citing the proper reference in any paper you may write or homework you submit.
In Syria, we don't have such thing as copyrights, but here in the US, it is a big deal. One of my Syrian friends once copied from a website without mentioning that, and she received a warning from her professor. And he told her that if this happens again, it can lead to suspension from school. So be careful when you copy anything from a sentence to a paragraph because the professor can always know about it. All you have to do is mention the references at the bottom of your assignment on paper.
Thanks, Zaina and Omar. Yes, plagiarism and academic honesty are extremely serious in the USA. If you use the author's exact words, then you must cite it in quotations. It is also important to reference the source even when you are paraphrasing the information, not just directly copying it. So even if you put the information into your own words, you still need to cite where that info came from. Each professor might have a different requirement for how to properly cite or reference material, so make sure you ask the professor about this before writing a paper. If you're confused about what is allowed and what's not allowed, you can always ask the professor ahead of time. It's always better to be extra cautious about this.
Professors always expect a lot from students. In the US education system, the book is not only the research that you have to use to prep the class. There is a lot more required from the student. There is a lot of research and projects that student spend so much time on them to collect the information and build his or her own idea. And a professor will ask you and discuss with you in every detail about your project, and they will expect that student to be able to answer any question they have. And most of the time, you will have to make a presentation, all that to make the student explain their own ideas. But in the end, it's not impossible to reach a very high grade. And the nice thing is, the professor always respects the student, their ideas, and the work that they offer.
Often you might hear the term liberal arts. Ghaith, what is a liberal arts curriculum?
Liberal arts and sciences are academic studies of subjects in the humanities, the social sciences, and the physical sciences, with the goal of developing students' verbal, writing, and reasoning skills.
So one of the goals of the education in the USA is to produce well-rounded individuals. So on the undergraduate level, regardless of what you decide to study, you will still be required to take classes in the social sciences, humanities, and physical sciences, or the liberal arts. Graduate study is different because then you choose what area you want to focus on.
For example, I'm doing MA in Global Development and Peace, so most of my classes are related in a way or another to social and humanities science. The curriculum differs from other physical science in that it requires a lot of reading, writing, researching, and reading between the lines, because simply there is no definite right or wrong. It's how you see things designed in the best way to bring better life and opportunities to certain communities or people that are subject of your study. I like this type of curriculum because it gives you an opportunity to learn about other cultures and other nations' experiences and then apply them as a development project or on another region with a special modifications to solve certain problems related to development or human rights or poverty etc. In your first semester, you may struggle with your language skills to express yourself, even if you have all the ideas well structured in your mind. But my advice to you is to keep reading and enjoy the learning process, because everything may seem hard at the beginning, but you will be able to adapt the whole process eventually.
So, can you tell us what is the difference between a major and a minor, and what are elective courses?
Sure. Major is the student field of constitution. Major courses represent about 25 to 50% of the total number of courses required to complete a degree. Most students pursue a major, but like some pursue double major. Minor, the student secondary field of concentration. Students who decided to pursue a minor will usually complete about 5 courses in this second field of study. Elective courses that may be chosen from any field of study. Elective gives students an opportunity to explore other topic or subject of our interest.
Ghaith, what tips can you share with students regarding academics and study skills?
The only way to secure success in the US is to make sure to pay attention in class and study the material you take in the same day you take it, so you don't get behind. Make sure to solve a lot of problems from the book and go to your professor hours and ask him or her for any help you might need. Lab preparation before you go to lab, because you might have a pop quiz about the material. And it also makes it way easier to understand what's going on during the class. Write down anything the professor says whenever he says that something is going on to be on the exam, then it's going to be on the exam.
There are many different housing options for international students. You may be able to live on campus or off campus in dorms or apartments with or without a roommate. What is it like living with someone who you don't know, and what advice do you have?
Living with someone you don't know can either be a great experience or a terrible one. The good thing, though, that you can ask for another roommate if you don't enjoy living with the one you already have. Respect your roommate and give him his space. Do not turn the music loud if he's trying to study or read a book or something. Have small chats with him at the beginning of the year so you guys can get to know one another and get along. You should understand that he's from a different culture, which means he deals with things differently than you do. So learn to respect that even if you disagree with his methods.
Well, your roommate can be totally from different color or different race and very different from your concerning habits and value. But I advise you to take some time to get to know him or her before you decide if you will stay as roommates. Because sometimes differences are fun, and it is interesting to learn more about other cultures from close people like roommates. Remember that differences are not always sometimes bad thing, but sometimes you need to step out from your comfort zone to enjoy the journey, because it's not about the studying experience, it's a life experience.
Can you tell us what a typical college dorm is like in the US?
A typical dorm has multiple halls. Some of them are for freshmen or graduates only, while others are for everybody. You can choose your roommate, and I advise you to find someone that you can practice your English with. Some dorms require you to have a meal plan, which might be convenient at first, but then you'll be sick of it. You might want to consider an alternative, like maybe choosing a room that includes a kitchen. I think living on campus for the first couple semesters is better than living off campus, but after that, moving off campus might be a better option.
Okay, before we wrap things up, I'd like each of you to share one final piece of advice to Syrian students who are watching. What do you wish you had known before coming to the US? My piece of advice would be to get to know the people in the International Student Office very well. You'll be glad that you did, because they will be your primary source of information and help during your studies and help you really adjust to life in the US.
Personally, I barely knew anything about campus before I arrived. Other than where my dorm was, I had no clue whatsoever about any of the different buildings and facilities available on campus. Make sure you take a good look at your campus map before you get on the plane.
I agree with what Reja said. I barely knew anything about campus before I arrived, but I would say that studying abroad is a great opportunity and you should get benefit from each moment. Enjoy the study, the life, and the people. It opens doors for you and it broadens your way of thinking. So take the most advantage of it, and good luck.
I see that being admitted to study in the US is a life-changing event. I would say that the best advice to give is be positive and always look for the great opportunities that awaits the hardworking and brilliant student. Good luck.
Coming to the US to study transformed my life in every way. This is a chance of a lifetime, and I know that the first couple months will be hard, but it's totally worth it. Try to take advantage of it as much as you can, and be proud and good luck.
I absolutely knew nothing about the campus, and I had no clue what was expected from me. I wish I had this pre-departure orientation to know what to do and what not to do. So basically go over this again and again before you come to the US. This has all the information that you might need. In conclusion, coming to the US is the thing that changed my whole life. Studying here is a great thing, so be thankful and make the best out of it.
In the US sky, this is the limit. So no matter how what kind of dreams and interests you have, the US is your chance to achieve it. The only thing you need to do is to believe in yourself.
Thank you to all of our panelists for joining us today and for sharing their expert advice. If you have more questions that were not answered today, please feel free to contact me. On the screen, you will find a list of resources that will help you as you begin to prepare for your studies in the US. Congratulations once again, and good luck on this exciting new journey.